Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this beautiful, diverse part of our country, St. John's on the island of Newfoundland, the stolen ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, and the traditional territory of the Beothuk and Mi'kmaq. We also recognize Labrador and the Innu and Inuit as the original peoples of that big land. I want to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to other Indigenous people who are with us this morning, and thank them for hosting us here today, as always. Colonialism is not only our shared history, it is a current and ongoing process. I am so proud that New Democrats are committed to the struggle against the systems of oppression that have dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their lands and have denied their right to self-determination, and we commit to concrete action towards real reconciliation because we must do better. I'm Mary Shortall, and I'm thrilled to be the NDP candidate for St. John's East. I'm also joined by the amazing Ray Critch, NDP candidate extraordinaire for St. John's South, Mount Pearl, and this is Ray's riding right here. We believe strongly in the principles and values of our party, like access to quality public services and social programs that support working families, local businesses and communities, decent, fair, and safe work for all, real action on climate change, and fair and progressive taxation. It has been both joyous and heartbreaking to go door to door during the campaign and speak with the good folks of St. John's East. It became clear to me very early on that no matter where in the riding I visited, health care was a big concern for many reasons. But the one thing that stood out in particular was the number of people who desperately need dental care and the consequences to people's health and dignity when they are unable to pay for it. And there are many who can't. I met Laura's mom. Laura's a teenager who has severely impacted wisdom teeth that cause her severe pain and infection all the time. Not to mention how awkward it is for a teenager to be self-conscious and embarrassed around her peers. Her doctor can prescribe expensive antibiotics for her, and if she endures several rounds of those antibiotics without success, they may be able to offer some financial assistance and a specialist to help her, all at a cost far greater than if she just got her teeth extracted to begin with. But her family can't afford that. Mrs. C, another woman I met at the door who worked her whole life in a convenience store. She had to retire early with no pension, no benefits, because she developed a rare illness which affected her gums and her teeth, and now she needs them removed and replaced by dentures, but she simply can't afford that. Meanwhile, she can't chew her food properly or digest it, and she is not getting proper nourishment. In fact, she's getting sicker and sicker. And you know what she said to me? She said she didn't even expect a handout. If they would only fix her teeth now and then let her save up the money after to pay for that dental procedure. She didn't want special treatment. She just wants to get better. These people weren't complaining. They were simply sharing their reality, sharing their stories. It doesn't have to be this way. There were a lot more stories. Tommy Douglas believed that universal health care should include your teeth, that dental care is not a luxury. Jagmeet Singh believes that too, and we are so fortunate to have him here with us today, in a city where he spent his formative years and maybe even visited a dentist for the first time here as a young boy. I'm so inspired by Jagmeet. He is the real deal, a genuine leader who truly cares about the people in this country and putting them first. The Toronto Star got it right when they said that his leadership does not come from the arrogance of one who calls the shots, but from the honor of being the one that's been given the responsibility of serving. And that is very evident, as is his genuine love of people and his passion for doing right by them. It's E-16 now, and there is nowhere I would rather be today than right here to introduce a great leader and our friend. Thank you for inspiring me, Jagmeet, and for inspiring so many others. And thank you for being here today to give us hope, for Laura, for Mrs. C, for all of us here. And I'm so proud and so honored to introduce our leader, Jagmeet Singh.
Just want to give a huge thank you to Mary for being here, for the powerful words, and for sharing those stories. One of the things that we really believe in this campaign and in all campaigns is it's a chance to share people's stories and to talk about how we can make things better. I want to thank Ray, our candidate, as well for being here. And I got to give a big shout out to Jack Harris, who's carried the flame here in St. John's East for so long. And actually, Jack brought forward a motion on this very same thing, that we could bring in dental care for people who need it. And I want to thank Jack for all his work. We've got 2 healthcare workers with us, dental hygienists, because we want to really highlight how important this is. Mary shared some stories. I've heard story after story from people who cannot get their teeth looked after. And it should not be a luxury. And this is where we see one of the greatest divides. If you've got the right job, if you have enough money, you can get your teeth looked after. But for everyone else, they're kind of left high and dry. And it was never intended to be this way. Our healthcare system was always intended to include dental care, because we know that there is no separating your dental health from your overall well-being, your overall health. And so that's why it's so important that we do something about it. And so our plan is we would immediately put in place a federal dental care program that would provide help to all families that earn less than $90,000 and cover all dental care requirements for families who earn under $60,000. We could immediately put this in place. This would make a difference in so many people's lives. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, it would immediately help the vast, vast majority of people who have no access right now. They would immediately get access. That's a real change. And our goal is, and will always be, to make sure dental care is rolled into our public healthcare system. But we could start with an immediate step that's achievable, and we can cover the people who need it the most. And now folks are going to ask, well, how are you going to pay for this? And we've been really clear on this, while the Liberals and the Conservatives have not been clear. And they're going to use the playbook that we've seen them use in the past, which is either they're going to cut the help that people need or increase taxes on the same people that have been struggling in this pandemic, that have had a hard time, small businesses and workers. We are the only party with a third option that says, you know what, we should not put the burden on people, and we should not be cutting help to people. As Justin Trudeau has already done, he's just shown that he is going to cut help to people because he has cut the CRE, the next version of CERB, by $800 a month. He's already done that. He's already showing that that's what he's going to do. People can't afford Justin Trudeau, and that's why we're saying the third option is let's make the billionaires pay their fair share. Let's close the tax loopholes. Let's shut down the offshore tax havens. Let's make sure companies like Amazon that make profits in Canada, that make record profits in the pandemic, actually start paying their fair share. If we get the super wealthy to pay their fair share, we can invest it back into people. People can't afford another 4 years of Justin Trudeau, who lets the super rich have a free ride. We need new Democrats who will fight for you, who will bring in dental care, make the super wealthy pay their fair share for once, and invest that back into you and your families. Again, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for being here today, and thank you to everybody who shared your stories. Your stories are why we're here today. People who could not get dental care, people who are struggling, we are with you, we see you, and that's why we're fighting today. Donc, un grand merci à tous mes amis aujourd'hui. Merci à Mary et Ray, nos candidats et candidates. Et aussi un grand merci à Jack Harris, notre ancien député dans cette comté. Aujourd'hui, on parle des soins dentaires. Je veux dire clairement que c'était toujours le plan d'avoir un soin de santé qui inclut les soins dentaires. Mais ce n'était pas le cas. À ce moment, le grand écart entre les gens qui ont les moyens, qui ont les bons salaires, qui ont des avantages ou des bénéfices, et les gens qui n'en ont pas, c'est les soins dentaires. Pour plusieurs personnes, ils ne peuvent pas payer pour les soins dentaires. Et on a entendu plusieurs histoires des jeunes, des gens qui travaillent fort, mais qui n'ont pas accès aux soins dentaires. On veut changer ça. On peut changer ça. On a un plan pour mettre en œuvre tout de suite un programme fédéral pour tout de suite livrer les soins dentaires pour les gens qui n'ont pas les moyens. Les familles de moins de 90 000, qui gagnent moins de 90 000 $ par année, vont tout de suite avoir accès. Et on va couvrir tous les gens, toutes les familles qui ont moins de 60 000 $ comme salaire, tout de suite avec ce programme. Et la grande question, comment on peut payer pour les programmes comme ça? Notre plan, c'est le seul plan qui dit on ne doit pas mettre la pression sur les épaules des travailleurs. On ne doit pas couper l'aide aux gens. Notre troisième option, c'est de s'assurer que les ultra-riches payent le juste part pour investir dans les gens. On ne peut pas aborder 4 ans de plus de Justin Trudeau qui laisse les ultra-riches laisser faire, d'exploiter le système. On est le seul parti qui dit clairement que les milliardaires doivent payer le juste part. Et c'est exactement ce qu'on va faire pour investir dans vous et vos familles et votre futur. Merci beaucoup. With that, I'm ready for any questions you might have.
First question, Abigail Beeman, Global News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. By all accounts, it's looked like a fairly good week for you. Your party's up in the polls. I'm wondering where you go from here, how you feel about this week as it draws to a close on the campaign trail, and what you need to do to take your party to the next level.
We're really thankful for all the support we're getting. It's a huge honor. Liberals will often take your votes for granted. We work hard for every single vote. So we're going to keep on working hard. We're going to keep on pushing throughout this campaign that you have a choice. You're not stuck with 4 more years of Justin Trudeau, who's going to continue to make you end up paying the price. You can choose New Democrats who've got your back. We're going to fight to make sure the super wealthy pay their fair share for once, and we can invest in you. So we'll keep on putting that choice to Canadians. We're going to hear from folks across the country, and we're going to keep on pushing the help that people need and share the stories of people that have been raising their concerns.
We learned this morning from some members of your campaign team that you've already put in place or are about to put in place some changes to how you campaign due to the new modeling. I'd like to ask specifically on rapid testing. As you know, the Conservatives and Liberals had been doing that since day one. Why is this something that you're only implementing now? As well, could you tell us some of the other changes that you're making because of this modeling?
Certainly, yeah. I just want to remind again, folks, that the new modeling that's come out, especially the new evidence that's come out from our public health experts in Canada, is really sobering. It's really troubling. Things look like they could get really bad. And the most important thing we can do is to get vaccinated. So again, I want to encourage everybody, get vaccinated. It could save a life, not just your own, but it could help someone around you, particularly young people who can't get vaccinated yet. So I want to encourage people to get vaccinated. So in light of the new evidence that's come forward, we're going to make some changes. One is we're going to start the rapid testing. We had a strong protocol before with contact tracing, wearing masks. All of our team are double vaccinated, but we want to add this additional measure now given the new information. And we'll be looking at other ways to campaign and to reduce our contact. I love meeting people. I look forward to meeting people, and I love big crowds, but this is not going to be the time for that. So we're going to change the way we do our events to reduce the likelihood of larger gatherings, just so that we're doing our part as well. But I want people to know you can vote. It's safe to vote. Please make a plan to vote, and please definitely get vaccinated.
En français, s'il te plaît.
Donc, on a déjà eu premièrement, ce qu'on a appris par rapport aux experts en santé publique, c'est que la 4e vague frappe fort et on doit agir. Et ce qui est le plus important en ce moment, plus que jamais, c'est que tout le monde soit être vacciné. Ça, c'est essentiel. Donc, j'encourage tout le monde. Vous devez être vacciné. Moi aussi, je suis vacciné. Et c'est important. Ce n'est pas seulement pour vous, c'est aussi pour sauver la vie de quelqu'un d'autre, particulièrement les enfants de moins de 12 ans qui ne peuvent pas être vaccinés. Donc, sois vacciné, c'est essentiel, c'est important. Et à cause de ce qu'on a appris, on a changé un peu notre approche. Premièrement, on va avoir des tests rapides. Et ça, c'est essentiel maintenant pour répondre à cette 4e vague. Aussi, on va essayer d'avoir moins des grandes foules, des grands rassemblements des gens. J'adore ces rassemblements, j'adore l'énergie des gens, mais à ce moment, ce n'est pas le temps de faire ça, donc on va changer un peu pour réduire les chances d'avoir des grands rassemblements. Mais plus que jamais, je veux encore vous encourager, soyez vaccinés et aussi créer un plan pour voter. C'est votre droit, c'est essentiel que vous votez, mais aussi c'est important que vous trouviez une façon de le faire, soit par courriel, soit en personne, mais vous devez voter, c'est important. Merci.
Next question, Kevin Gallagher, CTV News.
Good morning.
Morning.
The dental plan that you're unveiling today is very, correct me if I'm wrong, is it not identical to what was put out in 2019? I think even the costing from the PBO hasn't changed in 2 years. Is there any reason why, you've done this now a few times, many of your policies are seemingly out of the playbook of 2019. Why did you feel there's no need to update, adjust the costing for a new reality post-COVID in terms of the public pocketbook? You know, why has there been no update from some of these plans?
It's not a surprise that we are still campaigning on the things we believe in because we haven't changed our beliefs. We still believe that people deserve dental care. We have believed that for a long time. And we know that in this time, people have realized more than ever that our healthcare system has had gaps. And I feel like people are open to that. They've seen that COVID-19 didn't create the problems, but certainly expose a lot of them. And in our healthcare system, a lot of those problems have been exposed. So the lack of funding from decades of liberal and conservative cuts at the federal level, we felt that. And one of the things that we're feeling still is the fact that people can't get their teeth looked after. And I think the pandemic exposed that even more as people lost employment, people maybe lost their benefits. It made it even harder for people to get that care. So it's more important than ever, and we believe in it. And you know, I wouldn't be, people shouldn't be surprised if we stick with our values because we believe in these things. We're not going to give up on things just because we couldn't get it done the first time. We're never going to back down from wanting to make people's lives better, from investing in people, for lifting people up, and for investing in their healthcare.
To follow up, you were asked yesterday what more could be done to reduce wait times. I don't know if we got a specific answer to that question, but I'm going to throw a specific nugget there of a big problem in Canada is a shortage of doctors, shortage of staff. That contributes to many of the systemic issues, including wait time within Canada's healthcare system. Obviously, a lot of that's a provincial responsibility. But what role do you think the federal government can play to address staff shortages in the healthcare sector across the country?
I think the biggest role that the federal government could play is to reinvest into healthcare. A lot of the reason why we're in the position we are right now with our public healthcare system being starved of funding is because liberals and conservatives have starved it of funding. The most concrete recent example is Harper brought in cuts to healthcare, which Justin Trudeau criticized regularly, said that those are the wrong things to do. And then when Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister, he maintained the exact same cuts of Mr. Harper. That is the wrong thing to do, and that's contributing to the position we're in right now. When you starve a system of funding, particularly a public system like our healthcare system, then the outcomes are going to be that we have less resources and less staffing and less levels of staff. There are some other things we can do, though, to tackle the shortage of doctors and nurses. This applies for actually a lot of areas. There are a lot of very talented people that come to Canada with international experience and training that come here and are awarded an acknowledgement based on the point system for their international training, but then when they get here, that is not recognized and they can't practice in their fields, they can't contribute in their fields that they've studied in. And I think we're all missing out. It's not just those people that miss out in contributing in their own lives for what they've trained for, but we miss out on what they could have contributed. And I think that could also help us with medical trained professionals and other professionals that have great training and experience but aren't able to use that when they come to Canada.
Prochaine question, Sébastien Desrosiers, Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh. Donc, sur l'annonce du jour, en 2019, le directeur parlementaire du budget avait calculé qu'à terme, instaurer un programme national d'assurance dentaire, ça coûterait 860 millions de dollars par année. Est-ce que c'est le même montant que vous avez en tête pour le programme dont vous parlez aujourd'hui? Puis, vous avez dit que vous voulez faire payer les ultra-riches pour financer ce programme, mais est-ce que vous pouvez être plus spécifique? Comment aller chercher près d'1 milliard de plus par année pour financer ce programme-là?
Oui, c'est à propos de ce qu'on a vu. C'est un petit changement à cause du fait qu'il y a plus de gens qui ont perdu leurs bénéfices. Donc, pour la première année, ça va être 1,5 milliard de dollars. Et puis après, qu'on donne les services aux gens qui en ont besoin, qui ont attendu longtemps pour avoir le service, ça va être réduit, comme le bureau a dit, un peu moins de $1 milliard par année pour le continuer. Donc, c'est à peu près le même chiffre. Oui, c'est exactement ça. Dans les investissements qu'on fait, c'est quelque chose de vraiment fiable. C'est vraiment fiable d'avoir un programme comme ça, $1 milliard par année, pour couvrir une grande majorité des gens qui n'ont pas accès aux soins dentaires à ce moment. Donc, ça va vraiment changer les choses pour plusieurs personnes. Donc, c'est un bon programme. Et pour chercher ça, c'est vraiment, si on prend un exemple de ce qu'on peut attendre avec une mesure, notre mesure sur les fortunes des gens qui ont plus de 10 millions de dollars de fortune, donc une taxe sur le montant au-delà de ça, une telle mesure comme ça va nous donner plus de 10 milliards de dollars par année. Donc, une mesure comme ça. Donc, on a plusieurs mesures seulement avec un investissement dans notre service public, en les donnant les ressources nécessaires pour mieux faire appliquer la loi. Ils ont dit qu'ils peuvent gagner 25 milliards de dollars de plus comme revenu. Donc, on a plusieurs exemples de comment on peut augmenter notre revenu en taxant les autres riches et comment ça peut payer pour les programmes comme ça.
In English, please.
Yeah, the costing from the Parliament Budget Office is roughly the same costing, with one minor adjustment that more and more people have lost their coverage that they might have had before when they lost their jobs. So we adjusted the first year of the program to be $1.5 billion. That also includes an uptake of people who haven't gotten dental care for a long time. So it would be a bit higher for the first year, but then it would level off just under $1 billion per year to keep the program going. And this is completely doable. In the scheme of federal programs, this is very achievable, and it would immediately cover the vast majority of people who don't have coverage right now, and it would cover everyone who earns less than $60,000 as a family. It would immediately save lots of money for people, and it would provide significant help to so many people who don't have access. And in terms of how we would pay for it, just one measure, putting a wealth tax on extreme wealth, so people who've got fortunes of over 10 million, that would alone would raise billions of dollars per year. If we look at other measures, the public service has said really clearly, if we had more staff and more resources and we were able to enforce the existing laws, we would be able to recover $25 billion per year more if we were able to do that. And then that's not including a tax on web giants like Amazon or making sure we shut down offshore tax havens. So there is a lot of revenue that could be raised that would absolutely cover a program like this.
Et avec la quatrième vague de la pandémie dont vous avez parlé, certaines provinces remettent en place des mesures sanitaires, par exemple l'Alberta qui réimpose le port du masque dans les lieux publics, qui essaie d'encourager les gens aussi à aller se faire vacciner en leur remettant 100 $, des cartes de 100 $ jusqu'au 14 octobre, si je ne m'abuse. Est-ce que vous êtes favorable à des mesures comme celle-là pour, comme le port du masque, comme la réimposition du port du masque là, en ce début de quatrième vague, et à des incitatifs comme ça pour encourager les gens à aller se faire vacciner?
Oui, je suis tellement d'accord avec les mesures pour encourager les gens d'être vaccinés. On doit trouver des meilleures façons d'encourager les gens. Ça, c'est quelque chose d'important de faire. Donc, il y a des mesures qui fonctionnent, il y a des mesures qui ne fonctionnent pas. Donc, on doit trouver les meilleures façons d'encourager les gens d'être vaccinés. Mais cette question importante soulève pourquoi on a toujours dit que le gouvernement fédéral n'a pas joué ce rôle pour avoir de leadership national. Avec les changements dans chaque province, c'est une pandémie globale, c'est une pandémie nationale, ça impacte tout le pays. Donc, l'approche du Premier ministre de Justin Trudeau était un peu trop laisser-faire, trop laver les mains. Ce n'est pas ma responsabilité. Je fais un truc, le reste, c'est la responsabilité des provinces. Dans mon avis, dans une crise, on doit toujours trouver des façons d'aider, de montrer le leadership, d'aider avec un plan national, avec une approche nationale pour aider les provinces et territoires avec plus des appuis. Pas une approche de dire non, ce n'est pas ma responsabilité, ce n'est pas ma juridiction. Dans une crise, la pandémie ne s'inquiète pas des juridictions. La pandémie frappe fort à travers le monde et à travers le pays. Donc ça, c'est pourquoi, dans ce cas, on a vu un manque de leadership pour encourager les gens d'être vaccinés et pour un plan pour faire face à la pandémie.
Next question, Nick Boisvert, CBC News.
Good morning. Will you make a dental plan a condition for your party in support of a possible minority government?
Well, in government, we would put this forward for Canadians. We would absolutely look for support from other parties to make it happen. We believe this is something achievable. We know that people need it. We know the people of St. John's East need it. And so we are going to continue to fight for it. We want to make this happen. Our goal is to make sure no one in this country has to worry about the cost of their dental care. We want a universal dental care for all, and we'll start with this bold step forward, which will cover so many people that are struggling right now.
How would a program like this avoid some of the issues that other parts of the healthcare sector may face? Kevin mentioned wait times, a lack of professionals in some areas. How do you implement what would be a new program in many ways and have it work efficiently for people, make it accessible, reduce wait times? How much work are we talking about here to implement this?
Well, this is a good question because people worry about how much work something's going to take. I worry about how much people are suffering right now. And if we don't do anything, they're going to continue to suffer. So that's never an option for me to say, it's really hard to do, maybe we don't do it. It's not going to be easy, but nothing good is easy. It takes time, it takes effort. But this program, what we're offering is an immediate federal coverage. It's a federal program that would immediately cover people who can't pay for the medication or can't pay for the dental care that they need. This would immediately help someone like Ms. C that Mary brought up. She would immediately be able to access a federal program to cover her dental care. It would provide that care right away, and it would provide a relief to people who are worried that they can't afford the care that they need. And then we would always be looking at ways to improve the program, improve access, but it's something that we could do right away that would help so many people. Millions of people would be better off with this program immediately.
Next question, we have Ben Cleary from NTV.
Morning.
Hey, morning.
Why is it important to be back in St. John's, specifically near St. John's East, where Mr. Harris won't be running?
Well, I'm going to miss Mr. Harris, Jack Harris, my friend and buddy, but I hope he knows he's going to get lots of calls from me anytime I need advice, so he should be ready for that. St. John's is a place that got a special place in my heart because, as Mary was mentioning, I grew up here. My formative years happened here in St. John's and then a little bit in Grand Falls. And I got a lot of love for the Atlantic. I feel often that the Atlantic region is ignored. And a lot of times the Liberals take them for granted. They take you all for granted because they just expect that they'll get their votes. We want to fight for you. We want to earn your support. And I want to be here to let people know I want to earn your support and earn your confidence. We have shown people that we fought for them in the pandemic, and we want to fight for you getting out of this pandemic and into the recovery. And so it was really important for me to show that support. And Ray is an incredible candidate who offers a lot. I think the people of St. John's, all the ridings of St. John's would be better served. All the ridings of Newfoundland and Labrador would be better served with New Democrat MPs who are going to stand up for you, who are going to fight for you, who are going to make sure we get you the help that you need.
Perfect. The province is suffering from a doctor shortage. What would the NDP do to help retain and recruit doctors here in NL?
So this is a serious problem across the Atlantic. We've heard from people, and we know that people are struggling with accessing a doctor. So a couple of things that we can do right away that would make a difference is reverse those cuts, the Harper cuts that reduced the amount of funding in healthcare that Justin Trudeau maintained directly meant that there was less help for people. It directly meant there was less funding in our healthcare system, and that made it harder for people to get the care they needed. And so we would reverse that cut, and that would immediately make a difference in people's lives with getting care and getting access to care. And then specifically around doctor shortage, there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of incentivizing people to get trained and to live in the Atlantic regions, in Newfoundland and Labrador specifically. But we also should look at a lot of the talent that's out there, like I mentioned earlier, the people who are trained internationally, educated internationally, that don't have their credentials recognized here that could contribute as well. So these are some of the things we need to look at.
Next question, we have Meg Roberts from CBC.
Lots of people here in the province work in oil and gas. You've said you're going to end subsidies. What are your plans for the industry here?
Well, we know a lot of workers have gone through busts and booms, and things have been really unpredictable. And we know where the global markets are headed. It's clear all the major car manufacturers have announced that they're going to stop production of combustion engine vehicles in the near future. We know that countries that invest in renewable energy will be better off, and workers will be better off if we invest in an economy that's renewable and an economy that's long-lasting. So for the workers, I believe it's the government's responsibility to make sure we make those investments now to create those good jobs. and it would be irresponsible not to acknowledge the way the world is headed, and particularly given the climate crisis that is hitting us hard, for us not to make investments in building that economy of the future. And so that's where I think we should be using our federal resources. We support workers. There's no way we can move forward with our economy, with fighting the climate crisis, by leaving workers behind. We are a workers' party, so we will always put workers first. But I think it's responsible governance to make sure we're investing in creating the economy and the jobs of the future. When we see where the world is headed, it's our responsibility to make those investments now.
Equalization payments, will there be a change to the formula at all?
We're open to that. I think this is something that a lot of provinces have raised as a concern, and that the current formula is not working well, and so we're open to revisiting it.
This concludes our press conference. Thank you. Merci.
Merci. Thanks so much. Thank you all. That's awesome.